Question 4. How many squares are there in the grid below? Well, we're going to break this into cases. The first case I want to look at is the number of 1 by 1 squares. Clearly we can just count these. There are 9, but I'm going to write this as 3 times 3. There's a reason for this. What about the second case, where I'm looking at 2 by 2 squares? Well, to get a 2 by 2 square, I could have 1 here and 1 here. And why don't I get a third? Because I run out of room. So 2 by 2 needs 1 extra row, so I can only go up by 2, and similarly, I can only go across by 2. So the number of 2 by 2 squares there are is 2 across, 2 up, 4. What about 3 by 3? Again, you can just count this off. I need the entire grid. I need all 3 rows across, all 3 rows up. There is 1. So the total number, because I'm splitting it into cases, I add these together, the total number is 14. So let's look at something a little bit more interesting. How many squares are there in this grid? Well, now we need to work a little bit harder. Instead of answering this question, I'm going to set myself a slightly easier one to solve. How many squares are there if I fill in that missing square? Right? So I've added in the square and I want to know how many squares are there in this grid. Well, again, I can count off the number of 1 by 1s, right? So the case of 1 by 1, there will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 across, 4 up, so it's 5 by 4. What about 2 by 2s? Well, as before, I could have 1 here, 2, 3, 4 across, and 1, 2, 3 up. So this would be 4 by 3, 12 of them. What about my 3 by 3s? Well, again, take a look. I'd have 1 there, 2, 3 across, but only 2 vertically. So I get 3 by 2. Are you seeing the pattern yet? If you are, you can definitely tell me that the number of 4 by 4s will be 2. Why? Because this number just decreases to 2, this number decreases by 1. And obviously, the number of 5 by 5s is going to be 0. I don't have a fifth row to this. So that means that the total number with this square there are 40, right? 20 plus 12 plus 6 plus 2, there are 40. But I've added in the square. How do I deal with that? Well, I just ask myself, how many of these 40 involved this square down here? So there was 1 by 1 that involved the square. There was a 2 by 2 that involved the square. There was a 3 by 3 that involved the square. And there was a 4 by 4 that involved the square. So the total number, the number of squares, is going to be 20 plus 12 plus 6 plus 2 minus away 4, because there are 4 squares that use the bottom right hand fake square. And so that gives us as our final answer 36.